Hello everyone, welcome to Self-Love You. My name is Jenna Ryan and I'm your self-love life coach. I do talks here. I want to talk to you today about, I guess I'm going to title it, pushing off what people put on you. Getting rid of what people put on you. When you're out there in the world and you're empathetic and you're kind and you're loving and you're living your life, there can be other people that surround you in all aspects of life. It could be at work, it could be when you're working, it could be your boss, it could be your coworkers, clients, it could be friends, it could be a lover, it could be a family, it could be a community, it could be the media, it could be, culture, whatever titles and attributes that other people try to wrap around you. I'm going to talk about untangling from those projections. Untangling from projections. I really know that I've already talked about this before, but perhaps this will be a little bit more in depth and give a little bit more insight to how to untangle. So you're out there in the world and people will put their projections on you, and this can be in a form of gaslighting, where they're gaslighting you to try to mess with your reality and make you think something about your being that you feel shame for, even if that aspect doesn't exist. So it's almost like a false self that is created by external projections of others. And if you are not careful and fully developed, and if you don't have good boundaries and good skills, then you may tend to incorporate these projections as if they are an aspect of who you are, even when it's not. And you may feel shame for whatever way that person thinks you are, even though it has nothing to do with the truth. So let me just give you an example. So one day I was having dinner with a girl, and she was a friend of mine, and I hung out with her often. And I remember I was just talking to her normally, and she said, "Stop yelling," or "Stop," like I was bothering her. And I was literally just talking like a normal person to myself. Like I was talking to her, but in my viewpoint, I was just expressing myself and just, maybe getting excited. But she was like trying to shush me and silence me and act like I was overreacting just for being normal. I'm sure that you've experienced this. Or if you have someone who, if you say something that's, in your opinion, benign, and they turn it into an entire personality trait that has nothing to do with you. Or maybe they act like you're being obscene and crazy when you're just being normal. That's an example. That's one of many, many, many different types of examples. And instead of catching it in the moment, you end up saying, "Oh, wow, I better calm down." Or, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to, oh, yeah, sorry, yeah." And then shutting up. I could have done that with my friend. In fact, that's what I think I did at the time. And that's what woke me up to gaslighting as a process, is, apologizing for something someone else projects on you. Or gaslighting, the gaslighting reality of someone else who wants you to feel shame, who wants you to feel bad for an attribute that you don't even have. So the way to untangle from this is through quality self-talk, through being in touch with who you are and being able to be the observer and use your wise mind. You have your emotional mind, your rational mind, and your wise mind. And your emotions may feel shame for the projections that have been spewed upon you like, sewage. And you may feel like, "Oh gosh, this sewage is a part of me." But what you have to do is say, through self-talk, through talking to yourself, through observing what's going on and really listening to what you're saying to yourself, say, that is not a part of who I am. So I refuse to feel shame for that. In fact, I'm going to give this shame back to you. This is your shame. It's not my shame. These are your emotions that you are unable to deal with, and you're trying to project your anger or your, low emotional intelligence on me. This is your problem, not mine. You're the one who's getting bristled at my existence, and I have a right to exist, and that's your problem, not mine. And it's just a very assertive internal dialogue that you have with your inner child, so to speak. You say, you know what, that is not mine. And it's really calm and neutral and beautiful. It's not like, that's not mine. It's just a very simple, that's not who I am. And so I'm not going to feel shame about that. And I give this shame back to the culture, whatever it is that's putting it on you. Okay? This is Pia Melody talks about it in one of her books about codependency. She talks about doing shame work in terms of, a dialogue or chair work where you give the shame back to the original, why do I want to say purporter? P-U-R-P-O-R-T-E-R. I don't even know if that's a good word there, but to the original person who had the shame. Giving it back and just in your mind just saying, I give that shame back and I give myself room to exist as I am, not how that person expects me to be or needs me to be. Because if you are taking on the projections of others and feeling that shame, that will dim your light, and that might make them feel comfortable. If you react to someone else's negative emotion that they project upon you, then you help to resolve their emotional conflicts, and they get to feel good for a minute, and you take on their shame, and pretty soon you're holding all the shame of the whole world in your hand because you don't know how to give it back or release it or refuse to receive it. If you just soak in the shame that other people put upon you like a sponge without honoring yourself and analyzing what's coming in and what's causing you to feel less than, down, like you have an issue, whatever, like you don't have a right to exist, like you don't do something right, like you're not perfect. Well, I am going to tell you no one is perfect. None of us are perfect, and that's okay. No one has to be perfect. All of us are flawed. All of us are growing, maturing beings, and we grow daily if we are working on ourselves and we try. Even when we don't try, we're growing and learning. Hopefully, we're not stagnant. But no one is perfect, and you can be perfectly imperfect without experiencing shame as if that imperfection is a part of who you are. It's merely a place that you're passing. If you feel shame for something that you've done, it's healthy to feel shame for things that are shameful. Healthy shame is a good protective emotion. But toxic shame is when you're taking in, because you're an empath, you're taking in the shame of someone else because they don't feel like dealing with their emotions, and they just want to put their stuff on you, and they want you to carry it, and they want you to react so that you can react what they're feeling, and then you become the caretaker, and you become the holder of everybody's shame in the whole world. I mean, as much shame as you will put up with taking, it will come upon you, and you can feel, you become a victim, and then you get, learned helplessness, and you get defeated, and you can't move forward because you're holding everyone's shame. You're doing all this work, and you're even feeling shame for feeling shame, and you're doing all this work for everyone, and you still feel shame, and then they make you feel more ashamed because you're allowing them to make you feel that way. So no one, I'm sure we've heard this, from psychotherapists, no one can make you feel a certain way. You have the decision and the ability to decide what impacts you and what doesn't. And if you don't have the skill, then meditation and inner self-work, personal development will help you to delineate between what's yours, what's your lane, and what's in someone else's lane, and how to stand up straight when you're walking in your own lane. So sometimes you might get hit. I don't care how healed you are, or how self-aware, or how good your boundaries are. Sometimes there may be an open wound or a place where someone can get through, and you are actually holding on to shame that's not yours. It has nothing to do with you. It's maybe some shame you took on for someone, and you were doing them a favor, but you didn't realize it was to your detriment. It's not your responsibility to hold people's shame. You cannot be such a nice person that you're going to be emotionally responsible for other people and hold their shame and react for them. That's only being an extension. You have to be a whole person in and of yourself and be able to step back from the thoughts and feelings that are being foisted. How about foisted? Foisted upon you by other people who are just angry, mad, or self-entitled, think that you owe them a living, think that you owe them an apology for existing, or think that you don't even have a right to speak at a restaurant. That's their problem. And so it's a matter of stopping and taking note of the shame that's being put upon you. And it's a matter of holding it out and saying, this is shame and I do not receive it. And I give it back to its sender. Return to sender. I return the shame to the original source, and I walk freely in my truth, in my authentic truth, and my ability to maintain wholeness despite what other people need me to do for them. I am not the savior of the world. I cannot save everyone. I cannot save anyone but myself, right? And I trust in God to help me through, even in my imperfections, and help me to love myself despite what other people see when they look at me, or what they think I'm doing, or what they need me to hold for them and resolve for them. Because even if you hold the shame of the nation, even if you hold the shame of everyone in the world, it's not going to resolve for that person if you hold it. It's only going to cause you to go further down in sadness and over responsibility. You're over giving if you hold on to that shame. So you just have to straighten your back up, stand up tall, chin up, back, but shoulders back, and walk in your lane, and in a very kind, neutral place. You don't want to be overreactive one way or the other. You don't want to be angry. Well, you do need to get your anger out, but that's another video. Anger, not walking in anger, not walking in, rejoicing in the fact that, you're higher than, higher consciousness than that person, and you've got more experience. No, you're not happy about it. You want them to heal, and you want to heal, and you're neutral, and you're glad that you see who you really are, and you're glad that you don't have to take on the weight of the world or the projections of others, because you know who you are, and you know that you are perfectly imperfect, saved by grace, and growing as a human being every day, learning to take responsibility for you and push away anything, and then there's another thought of don't push things away. But I think to get to where you want to go, where you're not I've heard don't cling or push. That's neutral, right? And it's good to be neutral because it's more of a place of peace, but it's giving it back. How about that? Giving back the shame to the original sender so that mentally you can use your imagination. Using your imagination is vital to healing. You're using your imagination to mentally rehearse the shame leaving your system, your body, your emotional self, and going back to the sender. And it reminds you, oh, that's not who I am. I'm not who you say that I am. That's an improper mirror. I am who I am, which is whatever you are, which is opposite of what they say. And then you're able to be free to love. That's because that's what shame does, is it blocks love of self, and it blocks love of others, and it blocks love of God, because you can't love 100%. You can't love fully if you're blocked by toxic shame. And this is just something that I know personally from experience on the inside. I just know this, that it blocks love. You can't love yourself if you're filled with toxic shame. You can't love others if you're filled with toxic shame. You have to give the shame back, work through the shame. There's lots of different ways to work through it and heal and become whole, because it's covering up who you are, and it's covering up the truth. And we're hard enough on ourselves. We don't need the world to come and give us a bunch of projections. And then also, whenever you have wrong perceptions of yourself, what is that? Negative core beliefs about yourself. This is also a good exercise when you have self-talk that is negative, and that's where it all stems from anyway, right? Negative self-talk. You can remind yourself that, hey, that's shame, and that's toxic shame, and that's not who I am. And I am a beautiful person, and I now have space through the healing process to exist, to be, to call out projections, and to decide, that's me. No, that's not me. I have a right to exist. No, you're wrong about that. You're wrong about me. And this is who I am. And let me tell you who I am. And if you're respectful enough, and if you are someone who's whole and healthy, then you'll be able to tolerate my existence, which is different from yours, which is separate from yours, which is connected to God and to love. And you'll be able to accept that. And you'll be able to take me at my word like a normal human. But if you're not, you're not. And that's not really my problem, because I can't save the world. You can't save the world. We can't do that. We got to stop holding on to the projections of others. And so this video was about how to give the negative projections back and how to hold on fast to your truth. Until next time, this is Jenna Ryan, and I will talk to you soon.